Africans like their spicy food, but with spicy food comes heartburn. I'm Jennifer Sanasi, you're watching News 24 Live. I'm joined in studio by our resident doctor, Dr. Darren Green, and he's going to tell us what you should do if you have heartburn. Hello.
Good day, good day.
So we're talking spicy food today. Do you like spicy food?
I love them. I'm addicted to chilies.
Me too. It's a problem, I guess, for some people, but not me. I don't experience heartburn. I lie. I have once or twice, and it's quite painful. So what causes heartburn?
It is indeed. Well, it's simply the damage or the inflammation that occurs either in the tummy lining, so the stomach lining itself, or the esophagus. And that forms part of the gastrointestinal tract. So when you eat food, it enters your mouth, goes down the esophagus into the stomach. And when food hits the stomach, actually just the thought of food already starts stimulating some of the cells in the stomach to release acid. And this acid acts on the food to break it down into its subsidiary components so that it can be easily absorbed in the body and used, in the different systems. But when you have excessive acid production in the stomach and a dysfunctional valve that prevents reflux disease, which is where the acid then basically goes up the esophagus and causes that discomfort, that uncomfortable sensation of a burning pain on the chest, which often mimics things like heartburn and even lung infections and things like that. That acid reflux causes redness and swelling of the lining of the esophagus, which is the thing that gives you the pain.
Now, is heartburn something that's genetic, or are we doing something to make us have heartburn?
Well, there are various causes and different ways at looking at it. You must understand that heartburn and reflux disease are brought on by stressful lifestyle. In other words, the more stress you're under, it forces the cells in the stomach to release more and more acid. So you could have excessive acid production as being one cause. Then you could have anatomically and structurally just a floppy or dysfunctional valve that prevents the acid from exiting and going back up the esophagus, causing reflux disease. And then, of course, our diets are very strongly related to reflux disease too. And there the big culprits are things like alcohol. Socializing, having those big parties and binges where you combine alcohol with spicy food and nachos. And then also, obviously,
that sounds like a good time.
It sounds like a great time at the time, but the next day it often isn't.
No.
And then white flour products are also, and the yeasts are quite strongly associated with reflux disease. You can imagine that the pH or the acid level in the stomach can become quite low. In other words, a low pH means it's very acidic, and that then causes the damage to the inner lining, the skin that lines the stomach and the esophagus.
So what do we do? How do we fix it?
Well, I think you need to look at the cause in your specific case. So are you eating badly? Are you eating late at night? Are you eating big meals? Are you eating a lot of food that is spicy and that can induce inflammation of the mucosa, which is the skin? And secondly, are you eating lots of white flour products? Are you drinking lots of alcohol at an empty tummy instead of having alcohol with a meal or after a meal, for example? And then genetically, is there a history of stomach cancer in your family or ulcer disease? Are you under stress that could be causing those acid cells to pump more acid into the stomach? And then, of course, the big risk factor is smoking. If you suffer from reflux disease and high acid levels combined with smoking, it increases your risk of developing ulcers and stomach cancer.
So what should we do if we get heartburn frequently? Is there anything we can take to relieve it?
Yeah, so for mild symptoms of a bit of a burn, a lot of people take things that contain antacids like calcium carbonate. So things like your Gaviscon, your Gelusil, and things like that work quite well, your Rennies. But when it comes to more serious heartburn, or where you actually have bad inflammation, and when they sometimes do a gastroscopy, which is where they put a camera down your throat and look all the way down into your tummy and look at the lining of the stomach, and they can see, the degree or the extent of the damage. There might be numerous erosions or ulcers lining the gut, for example. Then you'll need to go on what's called a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor, which actually blocks the acid pumps and ensures then that you have less acid in the stomach and less damage then occurs. So you can give the tummy lining and those erosions a chance to recover and the body a chance to heal itself. Remember, if you leave it long enough and those ulcers erode and get deeper and deeper and deeper and go into deeper layers of the stomach and the skin, obviously the complications are a lot more dangerous.
At what point do you need to see a doctor?
I think when you've noticed that using simple antacids is not helping, when you discover that you have great discomfort, abdominal pain, cramps with the heartburn straight after meals, you might even have a hernia, which is another common cause, hiatus hernia, which needs to be diagnosed by having a gastroscopy. I think the other warning signs would be to monitor your stools. I always tell my patients about stool gazing. Sounds revolting, I know.
It does sound revolting.
But looking at your stools and seeing if there isn't any ground coffee appearance in your stools. In other words, that there isn't any dark black sediment in your stool. Because when blood is acted upon by the acid in the tummy, it goes from that bright red to really black, dark ground coffee appearance, which looks like obviously basically raw blood.
Do you have a question for Dr. Green? Let us know what it is in the comment section below, and we'll see you next week.